I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Yes or no? Did you ever take banned substances to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
I had no prior knowledge of the planned assault on Nancy Kerrigan.
I am deeply sorry for my irresponsible and selfish behavior I engaged in.
Back to the immigration thing. So I think this is interesting statistic that I was reading. And it's just optically like an obvious thing to be able to play on. Whether or not both campaigns had similar stances on it, like when it comes down to nuts and bolts, whether or not things were bad or weren't bad, it's much easier for the incoming candidate to say they're going to change things because they haven't been in power for the last 4 years. Normal, right? Normal politics. But people who overextend their visas account for way more people who are illegally in the country than people who cross the border illegally.
Wow.
Yeah. Also, another important thing.
know that.
Yeah. Another important thing to remember is that putting a wall up you think that's going to stop illegal immigrants? Most people come in vehicles and cross the border in a way where nobody has figured out a way to stop that from happening. So this idea that like, it is such a powerful political thing because like you said, you come home from working 2 jobs and you see some guy swiping his EBT card who doesn't live here and who gets put up for free at the Roosevelt Hotel or whatever. That's obviously going to bother people. But I just, it's so interesting what things people can use to their advantage when they're campaigning, whether or not it represents the big picture in a way that's like pretty significant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally. I think it also goes to show, to your point earlier about the woke issues, it's not the most important thing in people's lives, but I think people love their idea of America dearly. And I think especially when it comes to issues in the classroom, that's another thing with minority voters that we outlined as one of the big things we heard over and over and over again is like, don't bring it into the schools. And maybe that's based on some misinfo or some
Don't bring one into the schools. I'm sorry.
Just like, you'll read stories about, picking your pronouns in elementary school or racial reenactments of like but I think in more districts, it's probably more of like sex ed and sexuality kind of curriculum. So I'm not saying that again, I really want to play the role. It's
important. These are observations.
Observing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's something we heard over and over and over.
On brand.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. RocaNews. Check it out.
Son of a gun.
Where we observe. But I do think the left lives in a bubble. I really do. The people who write at the New York Times tend to be very, very, very upper class. I love this stat because it comes to mind a lot where they have more grads from Middlebury College, a 2,000 person liberal arts school in Vermont, than they do from Georgia, Florida State, Indiana, Illinois. And
Ohio
if your
State,
initial thought, if your initial thought is those people are dumb, you probably need more fresh air too, Yeah. And the New York is not a regional paper, it's a national paper. And that's not even a cherry picked one. Like, they coincidentally have 5 people from Middlebury. Pick your Oberlin. Like you go to all these like really rich liberal arts schools. And I think they tend to be super socially progressive. They don't speak for most people. The campaign staffers for Kamala Harris were just reading the biographies of some of them. They just can't speak to normal Americans. I mean, and you can say, well, normal Americans are regressive and we need to hit an iOS update on how this country thinks. Well, okay, you're going to lose a lot of elections that way.
Yeah.
So like say that all you want and maybe,
Yeah.
so rest on your virtues, but like you have to be in touch with people and there are a lot of decent people in this country.
So was this just like a sort of time in the moment thing that happened where Biden did so well in the last election? Like, do you think that a young, capable Biden would have won again? There's no way to really speculate. But
that's a great question. So I think there are a couple things to consider that. One is on Harris. Although, she's very good at raising money.
Record-breaking
amounts. Also, if you remember 2020, she raised, I don't know if she had more than Biden, but she was a top fundraiser. Mayor Pete's also very good at raising money.
Oh, and guess what? She hasn't been texting me anymore. What, Kamala? You forgot about me now that the election's over?
She lost interest. Hey, Julia, last chance. It's Kamala. But she also didn't get a single delegate in 2020. And in South Carolina, which of the early voting states for the primaries, that's like the first black vote because it's Iowa, New Hampshire, and then South Carolina. South Carolina is very diverse. and she did terribly there in the polls. I can't remember if she stayed in to actually run there. So in the back of your head, you're like, she also, a couple of her races in California were closer than expected for a dark blue state in the primary too. So she has, I think, probably a bit of a likability issue. Whether there's,
Is it because she's a woman to some degree?
I don't know.
Do we know?
Is the answer. I mean, we haven't had a woman president. That probably means something. I know that there were more, like Amy Klobuchar, Elizabeth Warren got a lot more delegates in 2020.
And Elizabeth Warren is pretty well known for not being sort of across the lines likable in any capacity.
Exactly right.
She is sort of reviled by the right.
I don't know. I think I don't know what it is the short answer. Again, that's just an observation. Shut up.
There's no way you could.
Yeah, exactly.
But-
I mean, is it subliminal? I don't know. I think it's also like Hillary Clinton won the popular vote. Kamala Harris didn't. So that to me means something. And that was also at a time where the rageometer was very, very high. It's kind of like if we didn't have someone like Obama, would we have said like there couldn't be a black president? I don't know. But in terms of it was the right person and maybe right time. So the part one is I think looking at her history, she hasn't been an extremely popular candidate. She's very good at fundraising, very good behind the scenes, not a very popular candidate, not a popular vice president. The other thing is Biden, it's a great question. I mean, Trump did COVID poorly, and I think COVID was like such a important moment for the country that people are like, yeah.
Yep. And again, easy to hammer the incumbent, dude.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They have
always.
a direct track record. So if some bad shit happens to happen, then, what are you going to do?
In the economy crater, don't forget the polls before COVID showed him winning in a landslide. Do you remember that? People were like, Joe Biden's going to be a sacrificial lamb. Like the polls were showing Trump dominating. I think the economy dipping, his handling of COVID, and I think when the stakes were higher, also George Floyd summer. So the racial reckoning of 2020 also didn't help him. But then it kind of like low-key helped him at the very end because of, I think, the crime issues and defund the police narrative. But the point is, it was not, would younger Biden have won? What do you, like,
I don't know.
I have no clue.
I have no idea. Maybe not.
Maybe not. But maybe.
Yeah.
It's very helpful. We're helpful.
In general, I felt like she did very well in her media appearances. Whether or not she connected with people, that Fox News interview she did, she held her own very well. So I don't know.
I think the Brett, in that one in CNN, she just struggled to your point on the incumbent, when she says that I wouldn't really have changed anything, nothing comes to mind. I think that hurt her. Mm-hmm. I think the border, she never really had a good answer. And I think the viral word salads hurt her. And I do wonder how she would have done for a super long interview, like a Rogan. I don't know. It probably also wouldn't have been the most hospitable environment. But my personal guess, I bet Rogan wouldn't have endorsed Trump if she went in there. I don't think it was a trap. I think Rogan's like, I don't know. He seems to be like whoever's last in the room he likes a lot. And he like agrees with a lot of people when they're in interviews. Like watch him with Bernie, watch him with Fetterman.
Yeah.
He's not that antagonistic.
Yeah, I think that the thing, so to me of Rogan, and in comedy, people have always liked Rogan, and like he gives people a platform to grow their business, and like that narrative of him being what other people say he is not as popular. Maybe a little bit more so now during all the election stuff. But I would say that if you're going to say that he is flawed of doing anything in particular, it would maybe just be giving certain people a voice.
Yeah.
Beyond that, he feels like a guy who's trying to learn to
Yeah.
me. That's how I take it.
Do you? I have a question for you because it's also, by the way, just one other fact. I think on the Kamala versus Trump thing, like his, we've seen him for a while. His Rogan interviews, everyone had career days interviewing him. Everyone did. Versus like Call Her Daddy interview did not go that crazy for Kamala. I don't know how to read into that, but that's just like the Trump appeal is just crazy still. Question for you. Was it weird as a comedian who's friends with, a lot of people at the top of the field to see like comedy play such a big role in this election?
So it feels like it did, right?
It feels like it really did.
Big time, especially with that younger group of people.
Yes.
Was it weird for me? So I'll say this. It wasn't in some cases and it was in other ones. I think that the people who have been consistent in their evolution and their stance, they're not politicians, dude. We're comedians. Like we're supposed to be free thinking people. And it's hard to stay competitive in like an algorithmic world. And I get the appeal to wanting to have him on your show and wanting to do that. I definitely have a lot of respect for the people who have been consistent about the way that they view things, and having him on and sort of giving him a way to kind of boost himself, like it was appropriate. And for other people, it just came off as like a little more fanboyish, like they were being opportunistic, and it came off to me as very insincere. I think it's been happening a lot in comedy where people realize how big of an audience they might be able to get if they can sort of pander to the right, the way that some people have successfully done authentically and organically and in a way that is truthful to themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't think that people should think anything, especially if their opinion is well developed. And some of the greatest comedy is sort of breaking down things that we hold to be true. And everybody's trying to do that. And when you don't do it successfully, sometimes you kind of just sound like a jerk. I think that's how I can broadly say it. But the people who would have had him on 4 years ago, great. The people who wouldn't have, I think I just have more questions.
That's it. And I think people do kind of pick up on the zeitgeist, and they were like, it's kind of cool and edgy, and you'll get crazy views if you interview him. I think it wasn't just also the interviews he did with comedians. I think it was like a slow chipping away at whatever you want to call it, cancel culture wokeness that's taken place that just shifted the vibes among young people.
Yeah.
Like the Shane Gillis ecosystem, Andrew Schultz. Oh, yeah, he was on Flagrant. And I thought that interview was like funny. Obviously, I didn't watch all of it. I watched just some clips. I think Andrew Schultz is very funny, and I
do too. I like him a lot.
Yeah. But I do think a lot of people did kind of. Anthony Jeselnik has a good line too, where he's like, a lot of people get mad if you sort of react negatively to anything super edgy they say, and they're like, dude, what, you snowflake?
Yeah, like, oh, dude, it's your mom. Are you fucking her? oh, okay. I'm sorry. I can't tell a joke about fucking my mom. Okay.
You guys but he quoted Andy Warhol, who said art is getting away with it. And I love that line. Yeah. And I do think like, and by the way, it's funny. I think comedians are, I'm not just saying this because you're in the room. I think they're really smart. Like, I think there's a reason why people listen to like
Lynch. We are bright young men.
That like the Jon Stewart, Bill Maher's of the world that have big platforms that people listen to, like going back to George Carlin, John Oliver. And then, I think people really, Bill Burr, he always has like some great takes. I listen to Bill Maher. I watch Bill Maher's show every week because he always has like a pretty good panel, and I find his takes to be something you don't hear elsewhere. I think people like really, Joe Rogan's got the biggest platform in the country.
Yeah.
I don't think he's that funny personally, but I think like that goes to show that there is something about comedians in this moment of like crazy polarization where people do want the temperature lower. They do want it to be funny. And they also think, I just find a lot of the best insights coming out of comedians.
Right.
Ricky Gervais. Yeah. I love Ricky Gervais. Great.
And so this is the thing that I will say. So on paper, okay, Trump wants to do your show. Okay. Why shouldn't I have him on my show? These are he's running for president. Like, why would I stop him from doing that? Okay, fine. So my only question then becomes, what do you believe in? What do you stand for? What's important to you? Okay. And if the answer to those questions are things that sort of starkly go against whatever he is campaigning on, to me, there's a problem, especially because I don't think as funny as comedians are and as brilliant as some of these comedians are, I'm not positive that all of the places all the people that were involved in all this and were equipped to handle the stakes or to handle the moment. And I just wonder to what degree, if they'd even ever be willing to admit, like, was what I did something that made sense for who I am? Mm-hmm. And that's an important question.
This episode of Oops the Podcast is brought to you by BetterHelp.
Yeah, I just want to first give a shout out, gratitude to my parents.
Mom and dad.
Sometimes I feel uncomfortable talking to them because I feel like they are not keeping score, but they like... It might happen where one day I want to talk about something, but then I never want to talk about it again. And then they'll be like, so how you feeling about that thing? And then I just feel so uncomfortable.
And then it becomes a forever anxiety that you have holding over you.
Yeah. And maybe it'll be a thing they cling on to, maybe not. But dude, when push comes to shove, I know I can talk to them. I'm always amazed at how sound of advice they're able to give, and insight and wisdom. And I really sort of align with their values, which I've talked about a bit on this episode even. So being able to call them and know that they'll listen to me and that I can kind of talk it out, super helpful. But having said that, man, there's always value to having a therapist as well. And I think BetterHelp is one of the best ways to conveniently and effectively do it. Specifically for me, I live in New York, and it can just be really hard to sort out your entire medical infrastructure if we want to throw this into that. Obviously, this is different than a traditional doctor, but still, like processing who takes your insurance, who's still there, who isn't there, who doesn't take your insurance, getting a prior authorization, getting a referral. It's all such a pain. And when you finally sort it all out, now you're at this place where they only have one therapist available, and that's just your therapist. It's harder to walk away from them. It's just awkward to me, at least. I feel way better having the barrier of my smart device or my computer to be able to talk to my therapist about whatever it is I want. BetterHelp's great at sorting you out with the right person for your needs. There's tons of therapists who all have different specialties, different profiles, different types of people, whether you want a woman or a man or somebody who specializes in relationships, whatever it might be. They definitely have the therapist for you, and it's a really efficient way to streamline the process. Easy to change therapists, easy to pick a therapist. Everything about it's easy. So if you're looking about taking the therapy journey or you're looking to optimize the way that you approach therapy, BetterHelp could be the solution for you.
Having your parents as therapists isn't necessarily the right move. Going with a professional is best. Back in the day, I was dating somebody, my first girlfriend, and I contemplated breaking up, and I went to my dad for advice to help me analyze the pros and cons as to what that decision would be like. And I said, "Hey, Dad, I think I might be breaking up with Sabrina." And his advice to me, okay, I don't know. And then he got his iced tea and he left the room. And boy, golly, do I wish BetterHelp was in my pocket at that period of time in 2014. But now it is. So let the gratitude flow with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/oops today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/oops.
Kind of changing subjects here, but I'm just thinking about like some of the, like RFK benefited a ton from his podcast appearances. And I think this is an area where the establishment can learn. It doesn't mean go full RFK, but like, I think that a lot of people do wonder why we not talk about, but it doesn't get a lot of attention, the scale of obesity and chronic disease in the country. And I think if you have those conversations only held in some forum, people are going to listen to them, and they might buy into whoever's kind of leading that charge. I do think that people, if they focus more on overdoses, we do have an insane amount of, like, the scale of big pharma is it's significant. Yeah. I had to whisper just so they don't hear, but it is crazy. And I think if you are not ever like really, I think Bernie does a great job of pushing it out. Like, I don't know. I just think we have a revolving door in DC between lobbyists and the government, and it's just kind of crazy. And I think the right allows a lot of crazy ideas to sort of germinate or whatever, and the left doesn't even talk about the issues that I think most people care about.
Because the hot takes are so ridiculous sometimes.
I think that's right.
And so this is the problem to me. Now, look, forever, presidential candidates, big politicians, people with agendas have gone on the most popular show and talked about it. What's different? I don't necessarily know, but I can say this. In a world where it is now artist directly to consumer, there are far fewer checks and balances. And if I have some wacky fucking guy on my show and I don't know anything, and I will say this, I think that I know stuff, but I can't like talk to these people who are experts in the things that they're talking about. Yeah. So they might not be telling you the whole story, but they're an expert on how to relay their message.
Yeah.
If I'm sitting with that guy and we're talking, say it's me, say it's another podcaster, we're having a 2-hour conversation. It's the most listened to show on earth. No one could tell me, hey, you maybe shouldn't have this guy on. Yeah. That never happens. Yeah. And I'm sitting here and you say some crazy shit to me and I go, oh, okay, tell me more about that. You then tell me more about that. I don't have the tools to be like I was talking about Big G, to say X, Y, Z, this is why what you're saying is wrong. You say the crazy thing you're going to say, and this is unspecific to anybody. I'm just saying the phenomenon of this. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then you say your thing, and I go, oh, wow, that's crazy. And then we move on.
Totally.
And then that just exists in a vacuum where it's allowed to not be competed with in any way and not be challenged in any way. And I don't think that that's good.
It's like if someone memorizes white papers and it's like, you didn't see that study? And then you can't argue. In your head, you're like, that sounds like bullshit. And I know that a lot of people disagree with you, but I also can't say, well, you didn't check Article 6, Section 8, where it actually said the sample size was, you can't get into the nuts and bolts of it. And or like they'll introduce terms you'd never heard or
Right.
chemicals you'd
Just
never
to
heard.
discredit the discussion.
But again, I also think like if Europe, I think does a lot of these things better than America. Pharma is a smaller part of Europe.
Right.
I didn't come here on an anti-pharma campaign today, but I just think that's one, like, it should be a freebie to take shots at pharma. The scale of it's huge. It's
and even just the healthcare system in general is very dysfunctional. That's obvious.
We
everywhere.
spend a couple stats. We spend more per capita on American healthcare than any other country in the world.
Mm-hmm.
More than Finland, more than Germany, more than Denmark. And we do that even though we don't even have nationalized healthcare.
And by the way, per capita, for anybody who doesn't know the terminology, it means per person.
Per person,
So the fact
yeah.
that we have more people doesn't affect that statistic.
And so we already spend more than anybody. People are like, why don't we spend more in healthcare? We already spend an insane amount. It's just reckless and corporate greed, in my opinion, bureaucratic incompetence and corporate greed. And also on a health issue, we have an insane rate of obesity. We have an insane rate of chronic disease. We have all these issues. The number of people who are kids who are going to have diabetes type 2 is just absurd. I think it's like a third. I don't know, but it's some ridiculous number. And we have all these issues and we just sort of go, well, let's keep going. And
Right.
I just wish there was more discourse about that. Food companies have way too much power. Pharma is the single biggest lobbying sector in the government by a huge margin, and food's like in third place. I mean, does that not tell you anything?
Right.
I don't know. I just wish,
Yeah.
I just think there are some issues that like kind of developed in the podcast ecosystem that the establishment doesn't talk about, and they really should. They really should.
And it would be really nice, at least, if whoever was conducting these conversations knew more, because
Totally
you
agree
can
with
make
that.
a good point
Yeah.
and then make 7 bad points, and the good point just gets washed away. Because if there's things that are not factual or they're conspiratorial or, you know what I mean, it's really crushes anyone's credibility.
Totally.
And
What do
I
you
think
think
RFK is kind of guilty of that, in my opinion.
What is the solution, in your opinion, though, for those comedians? Because it is hard to say no, and I'm a big believer in talking to people. I think we need more conversation, not fewer. As cringe as that sounds, but I think it's true. I think it tones people down. I think it like gets rid of straw men. I think it does all sorts of good things. It makes you empathize with the other side more. So many reasons. But like with this issue, if you're a comedian with a big show, would you have like another expert on?
I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
It's tough.
unfortunately, I don't have that problem.
Yeah.
My show isn't big enough and
Yeah.
whatever. So it's easy for me to sit here and make criticisms. But I don't know. I try my best to be as responsible as possible, as I'm sure a lot of these people at least have done, whether they've done it successfully or not. We're not going to sit here and score everyone. But I just think, as it all develops, I hope that things don't change because of some sort of negative thing. I hope that just as things evolve, I think that the space is becoming more professional and more sort of well-oiled. And I think that as it continues, I think comedians should just should try to be as informed as possible. I think a lot of people want the hot take. They want to be able to say the thing that everybody remembers and that they talk about, like the Chris Rock, if bullets were expensive bit. It wouldn't matter. Like everybody talks about that bit. Hot take, brilliant. Every comedian wants that. So it's like, if in order to get that, you need to know a lot and you need to understand a lot. And that requires a lot of time and work. And, I encourage us all to try our best to do that and to be able to have these conversations and make them productive. I don't know.
I will give also a shout out now, because I'm a lot of people, we're talking about polarization and everything. But in terms of the resilience of certain institutions, I got to give shout out to, I think, the way Biden, Harris, and Obama have handled this.
It's so great for the normalization of everything.
Exactly.
Biden said the electoral process worked exactly how it was supposed to. And that is a great thing. That's great for the country.
Totally.
know?
It's great. It's great for the country. And also
Because it's true.
Yeah.
This election was fair. The last one was fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it also goes for everyone who thinks there's like a reptilian class controlling DC. Really? I mean, that's not how they would talk. They wouldn't have called the election when they did. I think a lot of people should go on like a apology tour. I don't think we'll get it. There's also like basic misinformation that's spreading. And I hate that term because I think a lot of people like the Washington Post and New York Times call things misinformation that are disputed. So I think there are problems with that term. But like where people are saying, they're showing a chart of votes by election and they're showing like 2020 spiked for Biden. And they're like, you really think that was fair? Everyone else was like 65 mil. He got 81 mil. And people are like, see, and it's back to 65. You're telling me nothing. They haven't even counted all the votes. I checked right before I got in here.
So we're recording this on the Thursday before this episode comes out. Just so everybody knows.
Thank you for that.
But yes, but that's important.
55% of votes in California have been counted. I checked for Washington and Oregon. It's like 60% of votes are counted. Just checked it right before this.
Yeah,
And
we were talking about this before. What's the America that you love, right? Because that answer could be different for everybody. The America that I love, one of the important things there is that it is a place where the due process of election and all this stuff is held fair. Independent observers call it fair. There's a lot of places where you don't have that luxury. Right. So at the very least, I really respect and value our institutions and the ability for them to function, whether or not they are high functioning in some capacity, different conversation. But that to me is important. That has been consistent most of my life. I want it to continue to be consistent so that I can feel at ease doing my shit and living my life, because you take that away and then it becomes tumultuous and there's no reason to undercut things that are working properly.
I totally agree. And again, this is another take that might sound like abstract and like fake Hallmark comfort, but I really think that if you want to rebuild institutions, because it's like, oh, how do I rebuild trust in government or science or schools or church or community? Because like church plummeted. Like the only institution that's widely trusted is the military, and that's even dropped, but it's like still like 70% or something. If you want to rebuild it, you got to have better communities, and you have to not view people as either QAnon shaman or blue-haired Emily.
Right.
People vote for different reasons. A lot of people vote for ignorance. Yes, the Google searches spiked on last Tuesday, saying who's running for president and did Joe Biden drop out. That is true. Those searches spiked. And there are a lot of people who get information from bad places, but I think that sort of polarization would slowly move in if there was more appealing stuff in the middle. And if there was more, it doesn't mean you have to be in the middle politically. It just means you have to be a decent neighbor. And Joe Biden said that in his speech today. You just have to be a decent neighbor. You don't have to agree. It doesn't mean, I'm not saying everyone should like add their views and divide them by 2 and that's America.
Right.
It's just like being civil is so freaking important, and people will be less likely to go to 4chan to check for news or Newsmax. They'll be less likely to go to Mother Jones and the most extreme liberal commentators on Threads. Like that's how you get to the middle.
This isn't the Red Sox versus the Yankees. People.
Yeah, exactly.
We're all on the same team. Lynch, I know you relate to that. The Gallerati Initiative. A government-mandated Thanksgiving with a family that does not align with you politically.
I like that.
Because I think that be nice to your neighbor thing is metaphorical. We are neighbors of each other.
Yes.
Right? So like, and I think that has helped me have compassion for people who don't align with the things that I think, because I've traveled around a lot. I've met a lot of people, and a lot of people I've met, we might not agree. They're decent people. And regardless of what they think, I prefer people to have an informed opinion, but a lot of these people do. So I think that's an important thing to think about.
What is your family like politically?
We're mixed. The family broadly is mixed.
That's what I was at.
My specific family, we're all pretty aligned on the way that we view the world.
But you do have cousins that are like a little different.
Yeah, no, I definitely have cousins who have always just been Republicans. In varying degrees of intensity.
Well, you the great bit too on the Italian family, and just how like almost caricature Italian, and like Hillary said when she.
Oh yeah. You're the most Italian person I know.
Yeah.
That's true, dude.
She said it's crazy. You got like an Uncle Louis, the names in your family. Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, dude. I'd say like I definitely have a similar outlook to my dad, but I'd say that my dad is even further left than I am. I sort of understand the appeal to certain policies of like, I think if my dad could have it, he would be like, I think he just like fully always in every situation agrees with just taxing the rich. And I don't necessarily. I think to put that as simply as possible. Yeah. I don't think I am as empathetic with that or sympathetic to that view as he is. So I have a couple more things I want to bring up so we don't go over. Number one being, there's an argument that I always hear, and I want to wrap this up by hearing the other things that stood out to you. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to say this out loud so that we remember it. I want to ask about D's nuts. I want to ask you about the Amish people, and I want to ask you about other things that stood out to you. But before that, I hear this argument a lot of the time talking about how high the governance ratings are in some of these Northern European countries and Western European countries. And I think it's important to remember that if you combine all of Europe, let's take Russia out of it because it's such a giant like swath of land or whatever. If you combine all of Europe and make them into one country, they have the same problems we have. They have Hungary, they have Poland, they have some of these places with like far right people who are doing well. Even in Western Europe, you're seeing it. So it's really convenient to be like, well, look at Finland. Okay, like how many people live in Finland? I don't know off the top of my head. What, 40 million? Less than that? 18 million? I don't even know. But like that's an easier problem to solve when you're in this small homogenous area where everything's the same, topography is the same, the people are the same. I think it's a much easier thing. It's an oversimplification.
Totally agree. Totally agree. I mean, you even think about like the founders, their state delegations disagreed vehemently. I mean, there were two like fundamentally opposed camps on how to structure the government. Like from day one, you have like profound disagreements at the heart of America. So Texas and Vermont are not going to always see eye to eye. But I love when you say that because people lose sight of America's scale so much. And I personally love our diversity. I think it's amazing. I love that we have Vermont and Texas in the same country. I think both are fascinating places. I think they both have very interesting cultures. Yes, they have their problems. But like the fact is, you do have to remember that people, just even the psychology of where you live, if you live in a desert, you're probably going to have a different view of certain issues. I've felt that where like in New York, for example, I'm like, I hope nobody has a weapon near me. In the wilderness, I don't know what happens. It like melts away from me. I'm like, I want a gun. You know, it just happens. And I think that psychological difference, the way you view your reliance on yourself and your family versus how someone who lives in a tight-knit community might look. It's very different. Like your idea of leave me and my family alone. That's an attitude a lot of people have in the country. Why? Because they live in the middle of nowhere. And that's their culture, the West.
Right. You can't align people who live in Wyoming with people who live in Alabama. It's not the same. People in Wyoming, there's 18 people in Wyoming. That is the least populated state in the country. There's like 490,000 people in the entire state. There are less people there than in Rhode Island. You think they're going to vote for a big federal government? Why the fuck would they?
That's a great point.
You know what I mean?
Or they're farming. They're like old school. They're reliant. They probably don't pasteurize their milk. Like it's a totally different world. That might be wrong. Wyoming land. I'm just making up shit. They don't have roads. They don't know.
They don't have running water.
I still have to visit Wyoming, by the way. That is one of my misses. Yeah.
When you walk around, you'll be like, I understand how dinosaurs roamed here. What an unbelievable place. Okay, so other trends in the election that you noticed before we wrap this up.
Real quickly, a couple. One, Kamala Harris, I believe, got a slight share. Again, not all the votes are in, but a slight increase in white votes, or Trump lost. So I thought that was interesting. It just underscores.
Explain that more.
Or just Trump's margin for the white population, I think, shrunk a little bit.
Really?
I think a tiny bit. I think he just gained so much with Latinos was the biggest difference.
But that decisively made him win?
I think that was a big part of it. There's a county in Texas called Starr County. It's 97% Hispanic. It hasn't gone Republican since the 19th century. 97% Hispanic. He won it. Hillary won it by 60 points.
Wow.
It was a 75 points. Like, you can't overstate. Miami-Dade in Florida was dark blue. Trump won it by like 10 points. He won Florida by like, he dominated among Latinos. I feel like that is still getting lost a bit, and black voters are like doubled or something.
So are you saying that was the decisive thing in the election?
I think the young people
But aren't a lot of those young people white, like you said? 18?
Yeah.
So
both.
So how did he not gain? But he lost because you said he lost a lot of the older people.
Yeah, because I think he won so much of the young vote, which you're right, is white and non-white. He lost some suburban vote.
And this is white people or white men?
I think white overall.
Okay.
I don't know if he lost white men. That's a good question. But his biggest gains were among Latinos and African Americans.
Interesting.
And they just jumped. I mean, it varies based on state too, so that's worth looking at. Like, he still converted a lot of white working class men in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, trends that have held true for a while. The unions didn't endorse, like, what's his name? Sean O'Brien's Teamsters Union didn't endorse either candidate. He interviewed Trump, or Trump interviewed.
These are people that used to vote 99% Democratic.
Thank you. And they used to tell their unions, this is the candidate we're endorsing.
Which made sense.
Everyone, yeah.
Right? They were good for business.
Exactly.
They may still be good for business, yet somehow business is bad. Explain that.
Yeah.
Right? And like we said, global shift, globalization, who the fuck knows why? But the fact of the matter is, you work at a factory that you've been working at, somebody else owns it, you make half as much money, your benefits suck, you have no pension. What the fuck?
Totally. I mean, by the way, and all these stats, I'm sorry, they're just given the scale of the victory. Like, there were only 2 states that went more in Kamala's direction this time than Biden's at 20. and it was like by a tiny degree. It was Washington and Utah. So like everything went right. The other thing I think worth bringing up is New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut all had double-digit point swings toward Trump. New Jersey was almost a swing state by the end of it. And I think, I don't know what exactly played into that. I think it was probably a mixture of inflation. I think it was culture issues, immigration. I also wonder if some of it was COVID. Those policies by the end of it became super unpopular. Like the most liberal county in Virginia is where my family and my brother and nephews live. And like his kindergarten, they're sending out like mask emails. Everyone's like that.
People
I
just
think
don't like it.
to most people, it's just like that's where we want to move on. And so, I think that actually maybe more than anything else jumped out at me. If I could sum the election up in one sentence, it's New York was closer to going red than Texas was to going blue. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
They thought Texas was in play last week.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just it was a landslide. I hope there's, I don't know. I hope our institution stays strong, and I hope that we don't shatter all this China because like these things took a while to build.
Yeah.
So
Right. Let's hope that, to some degree, things don't change radically.
yeah.
In any way, but you're not off the hook yet, pal.
Okay. Yes.
Nice try.
I thought you were gonna play like the nice music, like we're all different.
Spark something uncommon this holiday with just the right gift from Uncommon Goods. Giulio,
It's the best.
it's that time of year again. We're on the website perusing every single possible option of a creative and thoughtful gift. I'm looking right now at the gourmet oil dipping spice kit. Mom, Dad, Victoria. I might want that for Christmas. That might make me actually excited instead of pretending to be excited about a sweater or a pair of socks that I'm going to throw out after I politely act like I'm going to wear them forever. So maybe get me the oil dipping kit. That would be really nice. Do you see anything else on here that excites you?
Totally. There's a lot of great, unique, personalized ornament options. As good, and this is a nice one. Home is where the heart is. Personalized ornament, kind of like there's a heart on the specific place on the map on where whoever's the recipient of the gift is from, which is a great thing. And I think that would be really cute. My mom always gives me an ornament for Christmas, so I love the idea of kind of returning the favor and maybe turning that into some kind of tradition too. Because I know that for the rest of time, there will be a variety of different ornaments that are cool and unique that I can find on Uncommon Goods.
Yeah. I'm looking right now at the literacy clock, and it just looks like a book with a screen. And if you have it in your home, regardless of if you read it, you'll look really, really smart. Or you'll make whoever receives it really, really smart. It also could be a very passive-aggressive gift to someone like me who is a little illiterate, but I would love the way that it makes me look to others, and that's very thoughtful. So,
Totally.
amongst many other things on the site.
My parents love birds and nature and the ecosystem that it kind of exists around our house. They call me when they see a deer and send me a 4-minute video of it doing nothing. That's how obsessed they are with it. But this would be a cool gift for them. Hand-painted porcelain hummingbird feeder.
Damn.
Right?
It's talking about gift of the year.
That's a cool gift.
You'd be
That's
the
definitely
Gotti.
a cool gift. I love this stuff, man.
Gallerati Gotti, gift of the year. Right now, you can get 15% off your next gift. Go to uncommongoods.com/oops. That's uncommongoods.com/oops for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods. We are all out of the ordinary.
I've been hearing a lot about the Amish people coming out in a way that is that real or is that just
Mix. So I've been to Lancaster. You know, you've been there. If you say Lancaster, not Lancaster, it's they're more. Pennsylvania and Ohio have more Amish people than any other state. They're a sneaky amount in the country. Pennsylvania has 92,000. It's tripled in the last 30 years. There's also classic Twitter fashion. People, by the way, who are pro-free speech, like myself, also need to recognize that, like, what Twitter's done is ridiculous. Like, the amount of false things you see on your feed is just insane.
Yeah.
Like, for example,
I'm constantly requesting community notes,
yeah,
which is a good feature.
it is a great feature. I do love that.
I'd like it to be more.
I know. I wish it were more used
More
because, like,
streamlined.
people were saying that someone signed up 200,000 Amish voters in Pennsylvania. There aren't 200. There are 90,000 Amish voters, and I just did a video on this, which is why I have all these Amish stats. Yeah. 1/5 of Amish people usually vote. It's a tiny share of people who vote. The eligible Amish voter population is like 35K. It's a small group, but anecdotally, and I think based on some polling, it does seem like there were a lot more people that turned out. I went there. I interviewed an ex-Amish person because Amish people are like really hard to get to talk. and a couple ex-Amish people, an ex-Mennonite woman as well, a current Mennonite woman, and they all said that like they're all Trump. Abortion's a big issue.
Also, just like regulation and like building, like they get up in their shit about
Yeah.
like permits and stuff, and they're
Yeah,
like,
that's
"We're the
right.
best builders in the world, dude. Get the fuck out of here. I'm about to build a house with my hands that's better than anything you've ever seen. Get the fuck off my property. Get off
That's
my
very
property."
true. They have that mentality.
Why do they
too.
talk like that? I don't
And
know.
I think that's why they don't vote. Is they so radically have that mindset. They're like, we don't even care.
We don't need you.
And so I think like the vaccine was a big deal for them too. Apparently,
Interesting.
they just don't. They're not rocking with the vax.
Got it.
And I'm super skeptical of the studies that are like they actually have fewer cases of autism. I'm like, do they even poll them?
Right.
Like, do they even have like? I don't even like. I don't.
Someone
trust
made
it.
a really good point about that the other day because we ended up getting into some black hole of vaccine conspiracy things on one of our episodes, and someone was just saying that like autism diagnosis used to just be way more black and white than it is now, and that accounts for a lot more of the cases.
Interesting.
Which
I totally
makes
buy
sense
that.
to
Yeah,
me.
that I buy that. I mean, are there? I wonder if like ADD's gone up because of environmental factors. To me, that makes a little more sense, but I'm not a doctor.
Too much overload. There's too much going on. It's
Totally.
So it's funny. My family, one of my aunts who has passed away, who I was very, very close with and loved very much, she was big time like firecracker. Like we'd be sitting with my one part of the family that was like pretty conservative. You could even say very conservative. And she was sort of like on the opposite end of the spectrum. And she immediately would go for the jugular. And you bless her fucking heart, dude. She would immediately be like, how can you think that? Blah, 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 blah. And, it never seemed to really negatively affect the family. I think like that, like ultimately that side of the family. So it's like my mom has two brothers and two sisters. One of them passed away when she was very, very young. So 2 and 2. She was very close with her sister. So I spent a lot more time with that side of the family. I think that sort of played more into why I'm closer with that side of the family more than political things. And my dad and my uncle have kind of like gone at it before about stuff, and maybe not even politically motivated, but you can tell that like if maybe they were more aligned, they would have like gotten along better, and like some of these things wouldn't have even come up. But I always have thought that we have managed it fairly well. You know what I mean? It's never like affected us from like keeping in touch with each other and all that stuff. And I think there's something good about that, right?
Totally. I actually think often whenever there's an issue that fires me up and I'm like really mad at one side, and again, I don't think the solution to polarization is not being passionate about anything. I don't think that at all. I think it's just more of an approach to discourse. And I also think it is chopping off some extreme views or like not mainstreaming them for each party. I think that would be healthy, but that's too much of a prelude. Just was going to say, I often think about whenever I get fired up, my own extended family, because we have everyone from someone who thinks Fox News isn't conservative enough, like literally doesn't watch Fox and gets like blog info, smart person, but like information source is crazy. And then to kind of like ACAB, all cops are bad, like defund the police, like super, like probably may not have voted for Kamala because of the Gaza issue, like that kind of side. And so,
How does that make sense, by the way?
I mean, a lot of people didn't.
But in what world is that going to change under a Trump? It'll be worse under Trump.
I don't know, man. I don't know with that conclusion. I'm saying I don't know why. I think a lot of people are just so mad at like the Dems should be the good.
This
team
is what
for that.
happened.
Yeah,
Right.
And I also think some people think maybe Trump will be better for world peace. One other thing that we got from the I think they're like no war started under him. But that's just something you hear a lot. I think with like that issue, we went to the Muslim majority city, Arab majority city. It's almost Muslim majority, but because Dearborn has over 100,000 people right next to Detroit. We said it when we went there. We're like, I don't think this is going to go for Kamala. We said it, receipts on TV in our exclusive reporting. People were like, that's crazy. It's a Arab town. It goes very blue. Guess what? They voted for Trump.
And why? Was a lot
They're
of it small
socially
business
conservative.
stuff?
They're socially conservative. So it's crazy. The congresswoman who represents this area is Rashida Tlaib, a member of the Squad. So she's Muslim, but she's also very progressive, like right along with AOC and everything. So we asked the imam there, the most prominent one, Imam Kaswini, about that relationship because we were like, gosh, people are like not into the pride stuff here. Like people bring that up a lot.
Yeah, right.
And then we were like, but you have Rashida Tlaib representing you. And he's like, oh, I talked to her about this. He's like, I support your Gaza stance, your Israel stance. I do not support your social stances. So I think that was one. I don't know. I think a lot of people were just shooting a bird to the Dems because they were like, you've abandoned us, like betrayal or something.
Sure. Yeah.
Again, whether that's smart,
Yeah.
I plead the fifth, but I just think that's what people. No, I think that is what people said.
Right. So, okay, aside from a Trump government that is sort of like stripped down, which there's kind of varying takes on that. But in general, they said that there was a lot of kind of like critical positions that were left vacant under the last Trump presidency. I don't know how he's like intending to conduct things moving forward. It's funny because he's so unpredictable, but then when you look back, he ends up being extremely predictable. When you're able to look back, you're like, how was this not obvious? He was going to do this.
Yeah.
He said he was going to do it. This is what he tried to do.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And like, so who knows? But the world peace thing I find interesting because his whole thing is kind of about protectionism and sort of like, why the fuck don't you do it? Why should we be the ones who do it? Valid argument on paper, but you wonder to what degree he's going to be willing to contribute in the way that we can, and that some think that we should. I think that we should. I think that our role as this sort of global police officer gives us power, and I think it's valuable for diplomacy and valuable for us to be able to do what we want to do, good or bad, right? So then you wonder, and he said that he's going to be able to, that he plans to have a swift solution to things that maybe couldn't possibly have a swift solution. You can't also discount his sort of cowboy diplomacy, which has some value. I'll give him that. Like him just showing up to North Korea that one time, even though nothing happened, it was pretty impressive. I was like, okay, this like looks good, whatever. So people kind of view him as this strong guy. Maybe there's value to that. I don't know. But I'll tell you this. If he goes, all right, we're not involved in Ukraine anymore. We're not going to pass that bill. I don't know if it's even up to him. I don't know how that all works. Congress, blah, 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 whatever. If he's able to sort of make that happen, if I lived in Estonia or Georgia right now, or I would not feel that good.
Yeah.
So how does that help world peace?
Well, I think the Ukraine issue.
Georgia the country, by the way.
Georgia the country. Oh, damn, what we do? Yeah, what we do? Damn,
what? What about a hurricane relief?
Yeah. Shout out, love Georgia.
Love Georgia.
Although Florida guy. Ukraine, I think, is going to see the big difference, and I think Eastern Europe. I think what's weird about the Israel-Gaza issue for Trump is he's kind of got these split camps within his inner circle of like Tucker Carlson, Vivek Ramaswamy, who and others who are very Candace Owens type, who don't want the U.S. to be in any war, and they hate Israel. I think Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens hate Israel, and they've like, Tucker Carlson interviewed that like Holocaust minimizer guy, Daryl Cooper, Candace Owens. I mean, her track record's been insane lately. But what's really weird is Ivanka is also married to Jared Kushner, who was like his top advisor, and Ivanka's now Jewish. And like Trump moved the embassy to Jerusalem, and sometimes he seemed to be tight with Netanyahu.
It was an insane move, by the way, at the time.
Yeah.
That was just like...
So it's so weird, though, because some of the people who are in his ear, like Tucker, more than anybody, probably like a Dana White guy, like the people in his ear are like super anti-Israel. I think some are like pretty damn anti-Semitic.
And is it just because they're broadly against the idea of us controlling people's destinies and paying money that we could be reinvesting in our infrastructure?
Exactly. I think some of it's like also sentiment of like go kill each other. And I think some of it is also, I think more of it's that.
What about the world peace and stability argument when, people say, oh, look, the Dow jumped anytime a Republican gets elected, that happens, first of all, which is obvious. They kind of tend to lean more into market-friendly policies. But like the world going to shit, that doesn't help us. That doesn't help anybody. Mass migration helps no one. That puts a strain on the global economy, which puts a strain on our economy and our stock market. So like there is some value to that. Now, fine. Look, I'm sure that maybe somebody's counter argument might be, well, the pros outweigh the cons. That there's a world where that could be true. And as far as Trump now being in office starting in January and overseeing sort of the Middle East, I mean, the entire population of Gaza is already displaced. Yeah. So it seems like the worst maybe is somehow yet to come, but like that's a pretty jarring thing. And as far as the kind of broader war goes, like will it spread? I don't really know. There's no way to really know. And a lot of these places, I mean, you got to remember, these are like ancient cultures. They are clever as it fucking comes. And the shit they say doesn't reflect the shit they do in an almost unique way where it can kind of be hard to understand the ongoings. So I don't know what's going to all end up happening with that. If it's going to be performative, who knows? Maybe it'll escalate into some unprecedented global war, which I know everybody's talking about. I always tend to lean on the side that things aren't going to end up being as bad as they do, as they are, which ends up being right usually, except for when I'm wrong. Right. COVID, most famously. But I'd rather live a life where like that.
It's kind of like when, people say, oh, old people always say the world's going to shit. And it's kind of like, well, some generations of old people, most are wrong, but like if you were saying that in 18th century France, you were right.
Totally,
if you were like shit's about to change, if you were saying that in 19th century, late 19th century Russia, you were right. Same with Germany, 20th. Like there are so many times where if you say this, it's true. Now, do old people have a tendency to be nostalgic and hate young people?
And they also can't catch up with inflation. 15% tippers, dude. Oh, $8 for eggs? Poor fuckers, dude. Poor fuckers.
I do hate that. It's like, we used to, a movie ticket is how much? It's like, we used to be Nicola. Have you heard about the kids? Come back in.
I've started to experience that for the first time the other day. I bought puffins the other day. I was like, $9? What the hell?
That is so true. I think and also like McDonald's, you do see it. You're like, I remember when this McDouble was a bot. Or
dollar menu.
It was crazy. The dollar menu. That's so true that we're getting there. But okay, also the Jewish vote and Muslim vote both moved toward Trump. I think your point about like dissatisfaction with the status quo is what he leveraged well.
And okay, but let's talk about the Jewish vote then. Maybe like the Democrats seem to have failed the rhetorical versus the funding battle, where it's like you're going to say you're going to be hard on Israel, you're not. You kind of just seem wishy-washy, where the right is sort of more just like directly pro-Israel.
Yeah,
because there's
sign
some
the
value
bombs.
to that.
Yeah.
They're like, oh yeah, like they're our ally and we support them, period. And, the Democrats ultimately behaved in that way while trying to act like, I'm going to have a conversation with Bibi where nothing happens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like if that's part of your core value system.
Totally. I think also the campus protest got so much media coverage that it's kind of like, and to be fair, I went to Columbia's encampments, NYU's encampments, I think Harvard's as well, and we traveled a lot across the country, been to a lot of Palestine. I think there has been a mainstreaming of like some pretty, I know people are like I don't want to open this can of worms, but like where they say like anti-Zionism isn't anti-Semitism. Well, some people's flavor of it seemed to be quite anti-Semitic.
Is it the same as the blue horned man? Or sorry, not the blue horned man, the horned QAnon guy versus the majority, or no?
It's a great question. I think the scale of it was a little surprising, but I also don't think most people at those rallies was like there because they hate Jews at all.
Right.
I think that was like probably a smaller number.
And I've heard this argument too, where it's like, okay, people want corporations to sort of draw a line in the sand and say where they stand politically. And that now has extended to institutions where it comes to, they don't want people investing in companies that are somehow supporting this.
Yeah.
And I've heard this argument, and it's a pretty compelling one. If you dig deep enough, every single place is connected to somebody who's doing it.
Don't pay
There's
your taxes.
no way to defund it.
Don't pay your taxes.
Right.
Say every time, because that goes to the government that pays for bombs. So it's like literally everything. If you want clean money, you pick the wrong
It's
world.
impossible. It's a counterproductive stance. There's no way.
I totally agree. And I think it does feel performative. I really think some of it was performative. I don't mean to, I hate saying that because I think there are some people, when you meet some people where this issue is so deep, maybe they're Palestinian, maybe they're from the region, maybe they're Jewish, maybe they're Israeli. And I get it. So I don't mean to whitewash. I also think there were a lot of people, I've seen it, who are just like full-time protesters. There's this famous thing about, I think of it often, it's called the March of Dimes syndrome. March of Dimes originally developed to end polio, but once polio was sort of defeated, the organization didn't stop. It kept going. And I think a lot of people have just become full-time protesters.
Right.
And
whatever it is. And
whatever it is.
People.
The current thing. Yeah.
And I get it because look, I like I said, it's the most complicated issue in the history of the modern world.
Yeah,
most
I agree
likely,
with that.
right? The Middle East.
I agree with that.
So fair. Like good luck figuring it out.
Yeah.
Right. Now there are certain things that are straightforward and true. Like, okay, should we not kill a ton of civilians? I think most people can get behind that. And I think even people who are pro-Israel can get behind that.
Yeah.
But some of their arguments are pretty strong as well, where it's like, this is this place that was designed because they have been picked on, which is an understatement for the entire history of modern society and society in general, right? So it should exist. So I get why it annoys people to see people being like, oh, river to the sea, what river? And people are like I get why that's annoying.
And
But
yeah.
maybe not but, and I get why that's annoying, but like college kids have always protested. And guess what? If you were to have done the man on the street interview with them about any issue that they protested for all of time, they probably didn't know about it.
Yeah, no, it's very true. And I think also there were some very informed people also at every rally, but also I will call out this line. When we talked to the imam in Dearborn, we got in this issue, came up, needless to say, and we were like, well, some people in Israel depend on, and a lot of Jewish Americans depend on the U.S.'s funding of Israel because they fear that there would be a Holocaust in the Middle East if they abandon Israel. And I was like, do you think that would happen? And he said, I don't know if it would happen. Maybe they're outnumbered. They'd have to sort of get along. And I'm like, if I heard that and I'm Jewish or Israeli, I'd probably be pretty freaking scared.
Yeah. And guess what, dude? That all didn't happen that long ago. And the last people who survived it are gonna die soon.
Exactly.
And that's really dangerous.
Exactly.
So we need to, I think it is extremely important to preserve the story of what happened there. Totally. I went to the Genocide Museum in Rwanda, which was one of the most powerful experiences. This, I think you'll think is fascinating. We're chilling with all these dudes. We're fucking smoking. We're drinking. We're fucking around. We're talking about chicks. And in the middle of that conversation with the people who are the coolest people, they're like, it's really important that you go to the Genocide Museum before you leave. Every single person that I met of all ages baked into their identities in a way that was like very powerful. And I went in there and it was one of the like heaviest, most important, like just eye-opening things that I've ever experienced, especially because we think about the Holocaust obviously being the most significant, I think, from a scale. I mean, I guess you can argue Russia, whatever, but like, let's just say that that's the case. That stands out. But then when you go to the Genocide Museum, you learn about the Rwanda genocide, and the last chapter of your journey is seeing about all the genocides of the 20th century. And the Holocaust is, the famous Holocaust is sort of presented alongside all these other things that you either didn't know about or didn't think of in that way. So to me, like, I don't think that their fears are overblown, wanting to preserve that, because it happened not that long ago, dude. Yeah. You know what I mean? The only difference is that the coverage is in black and white.
Totally.
If that was in color, it's the same shit. Even when you watch the World War II in color shit, it's like, oh, fuck. So, complicated problem. I'm not going to act like I have a solution. I understand why people feel how they feel, but there are certain things that are true. Should Hamas be able to be the government now after everything that's happened? Absolutely not. I fully agree with that. And it's part of Israel technically, and it's their fault that they came to power. Fine, that doesn't matter. Okay, the people who live in that country, it's a high functioning place. They should be able to sleep at night without having to worry about that shit happening. Totally. And it's not their fault that the people are just hiding behind. This is the classic thing of urban warfare. I don't know how you solve the problem. Is killing everybody the solution? Probably not. But I don't know what the solution is.
I'm there too. And it's tragic. I think you can never also be totally desensitized. I know where you can't become desensitized to what's happening in Gaza, in my opinion. Agreed. Like you just sort of have to remember. I know you don't want to sit with those.
So much going on. It's hard to think about everything at once.
Exactly. So you shouldn't become desensitized for sure.
Yeah. Agreed, dude. Okay. Well, dude, I guess sort of wrapping it up, what I will say, silver lining at least to the election being wrapped up in a tidy and clean fashion. We don't have to worry about Trump fucking being like, it was bullshit. Hopefully that's the last time that'll ever have to happen. And everything will just function as it's supposed to now moving forward. And B, I'm getting married soon, and hopefully people won't be thinking about the election anymore.
Let's go, dude. So pumped for you guys. That's Thanks, big man. Time. And I mean, you think about it like, yes, it may be a privilege, as you said earlier, I like this, where you talk about like things staying the same or politics. Like it may be a privilege to say politics doesn't affect my life that much. And there's certainly aspects of that. I think it affects all of our lives, but like, I think it's important to remember though that like the best joys in life are not from politics. Like it is from important things like what you're doing, getting married to a wonderful person.
Thank you, bro. Yeah,
super happy for you guys. How are you feeling now? What's like this vibe?
I feel good, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel ready to rock. I don't feel nervous. I don't feel in doubt of it at all. I think more so the heavier thing weighing on my mind is sort of how I'm going to figure out family planning and how we're going to pull that off, and make that work for especially my unconventional schedule. And beyond how am I going to pull it off, how am I going to feel about the way that I live my life currently when I have people? Is it going to change my my goals and my hobbies. Am I going to want to travel as much? I don't know. So I like that. Just the idea of a change to something that I'm used to being so significant weighs on me more than the idea of signing a piece of paper that basically just is the thing I'm already doing.
Having a grandpa G though would be unreal.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, agreed.
But that's so exciting. However, obviously that plays out.
Thank you, man.
And have you picked out your fit? What are you wearing on
Yes.
for the ceremony?
So we got a tux. I got
Black.
Yes.
Black with, yeah.
Black. Just kind of like traditional, but like
Yeah.
it was supposed to be custom. They fucked up a little bit, so we ended up just like hacking the pants together.
Yeah.
But it looks great, fits great. And then Saturday, I'm doing like a little bit more casual. Like it's white tux jacket, black pants, button down, maybe with a button open, no tie, and then I'm probably gonna change into a tee at some point.
Let's go.
Hard. So spoiler alert.
Are you a big dancer?
Yeah, I guess. Like sometimes no, but like I also have learned the value of being a hype person at
Yeah.
someone else's wedding, because a wedding is considered successful when everybody's dancing for whatever reason. So like Hill Doggers be like, it's go time.
Yeah.
And I know that I just got to dance for like 3 straight hours. So, probably some dancing will be done, some drinking, some hanging.
Some hanging. Yeah.
Let us know where we can follow all the cool stuff you guys are doing. I hope to work with you guys in the future. I've always loved everything you're doing.
Dude, as you know, when you went to Afghanistan, we posted that, and we also got a lot of good feedback, or we storied it a couple times, I think.
Cool.
And it was got some good feedback, and I think we would love to do something. So that'll have to happen at some point. But yeah, we're check us out on Instagram at Ride the News, RocaNews. And we are also boosting our YouTube presence. RocaNews is where we do our on the ground stuff, and then We the 66. For 66% of Americans who don't trust the news, that's our deep dive channel. So check those out. And thank you guys so much for having me on. This was awesome. I'm a huge fan.
Pleasure. This is a great episode. We don't usually have episodes like this. We're like, I hate when people are fucking standing in line for too long. It's nice to talk about this. I certainly can be intimidated by the idea of it. And I felt good about it. So I'm happy.
This
to
was
have you on.
great. This was great.
great.
I love you're truly open-minded, curious guy. That's rare. And you listen, but you also have opinions. It's again. So
And I think the two can coexist. And I think they should.
Totally right.
So anyway, follow us at Oops Podcast. He is at Ryan is Really Polite. You got shows coming up?
December with GIULIO in
December
Stamford,
13th.
Connecticut. Thanks for coming out to Jersey City last Thursday. It was a really fun time.
Hell yeah, Lynchy doing his thing. I'm at Not Julio G, Snapchat, and TikTok. Also check out my YouTube channel, Not Julio. Just search my name, but also youtube.com/Not Julio. We'll get you there. Subscribe, all that shit. Hope to be making more video stuff in the future. Thank you guys. Enjoy. Goodbye.